Da na 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 na. Simply.
Hi, I'm Ann and this is Ann's Keep It Simple. Today we're going to be doing a recipe that is hearty, affordable, feeds 4 to 6 people easily. Sometimes you can even get more out of it depending on if you have little kids that are eating, you know, out of this dish or not. It'll go a little bit further than 6 people even. The beans we are using today are going to be canned. You can use the raw beans. You'll have to soak them overnight in water and then you cook them for a couple hours before you actually make the dish and add everything in together with it. We've got the cans of Great Northern beans, and this is traditional dish. We use the Great Northern beans because that's traditionally what we've always used growing up and everything in the Midwest. They're a real light texture, soft white bean. Their flavor is just really good with the pork and everything else, and that's another thing too we'll get to is with the ham. I'm using ham steak today. I'm just going to chop it up, cube it up. You can buy your ham already cubed up. You can use bacon instead. You can use saltback. You can use whatever is on sale, whatever you have on hand, whatever you found at the grocery store that week, okay? I need 2 tablespoons of chopped or fresh onion, whatever you have on hand. If you don't have the dried, you can chop up some fresh onions, that's fine too. I'm using 1 ham steak and it's a little over a pound, but I'm going to chop it up. It does have a bone in it, but with this recipe for $6, you're feeding 4 to 6 people easily. So it's very affordable. The ham steaks you can usually get for $2.50 or close to that. And water, salt, and pepper to taste. Now this is going to go with, it consists of like a soup type stew. You could say stock pot, cook everything in one pot on the stove. So we're going to cook cornbread to go with it. And we're going to be using Jiffy, which is the brand, and like I said before, generic is always good. I love using generic. I use whatever's on sale that week, so you can too. But I do use Jiffy brand cornbread mix because it comes in a small box, makes 6 to 8 muffins, or you can use a disposable little foil pan. That's fine too. If you want to just go to the dollar store and pick up a foil pan, you can use that too. A small loaf pan would work for that. Eggs and milk. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start the cornbread first because we need to get it baking and everything else. And like I said, you can use a small loaf pan for this, or you can use disposable muffin tins. You can find those at the dollar store too. Whatever you have on hand, that'll work. And it does only make 6 to 8 servings per little box, and this is the little box that I'm using. So you don't need a big pan. You don't want it to be real terribly thin or anything like that. And it just comes in a powder. It's already got the stabilizers, baking powder, all that stuff's already added in there with the cornmeal. That's why it's so convenient. These are like 50, 60 cents at the grocery store. So you can't go wrong with that either. And it takes 1 egg. And the instructions are on the box for this. So if you want to use that, that's fine too. And 1/3 cup of milk. That's all you have to add to it. And then you just mix that up. Stir it all together. Make sure you got all the mixture incorporated really good because it does stick to the bottom and it's powdery. So you want to make sure that you get all the liquid mixed thoroughly through. And it'll come out kind of like a paste consistency. It's real easy, it's real fast. That's all you do is mix it up just like that. And I've already got muffin tins here. I'm going to go ahead and fill these up and get them in the oven. At this point, you need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees because they're going to cook pretty quickly, but it doesn't take long to make the soup part of this recipe, the ham and beans, so everything should come out pretty well about the same time. And these will be nice and fresh. And you only bake them for maybe 10-12 minutes depending on how big you make them. You just want them a little toasty brown on the top. That's all it takes. It doesn't take long at all. And this recipe is going to make me maybe more than what I have here. Oh, come on, just about right there. And you just want to kind of keep your muffins about the same size. Fill them about half up so they all come out relatively the same size. And this also is traditionally part of the ham and beans. You know, from the Midwest, it is a recipe that we use all the time up there, especially in the winter. Kids love it. It's one way to get them to eat the beans, which is great, high in fiber, everything else. Now my oven's already preheated, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stick those in there and let them bake. It'll take a few minutes to get on that, and we can go ahead and start the stove and get our beans going. So I'm gonna go ahead, turn the pan on, and it's medium to medium high, because I'm gonna go ahead and stick in the ham steak. And like I said, this is just one full ham steak. Doesn't matter the brand. If you have bacon on hand, you can use that. If you have salt back, that's fine too. But I am gonna go ahead and chop this up, because you want everything to be kind of the bean size or bite size, because it's gonna stew together. And essentially, since we're using canned beans, which are totally affordable, everything is going to be bite size and cooked already. We're essentially just warming everything through. So let me get rid of that. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and chop this up. Now these ham steaks always have a bone in them, because they're essentially cut off the shank. And so I'm just gonna cut that little bone out. It's a little round bone. You don't want anybody biting into that. And then we just chop it up into bite-sized pieces. And once that is one thing I do want to remind everybody. If you find these ham steaks on sale, because once in a while your local, supermarket or grocery store will run these on sale, buy up 2 or 3 of them. They're a couple dollars, $2 or $3 a piece. They feed a lot of people. You can use them for any dish. Eggs Benedict, you can use them for ham and eggs in the morning. You can use them for ham and beans. You can use them for sandwiches. It's already cooked, essentially. It's already cooked, so you just need to warm it through. And you can eat it just like this too, because again, it's already cooked. So buy a few of them, stick them in the freezer. They're very affordable, and you can use them many, many different ways. So that is one good thing. And that's one thing that makes these ham steaks very affordable to use. So, now if you want to, you can trim off some of the fat on this and everything else, and that's fine. I usually don't worry about it, because it's not a lot of fat, and it just adds to the water and the juices. I put the ham in first. You can hear the sizzle. And I like to get a little toasty brownness going on that. It starts breaking down the water and the ham and the sugars and everything else. And it brings out all that extra flavor. And you can see right here how much ham I actually have. Now mind you, this is going to be a full pan of beans for, like I said, 6 people. And even if there's little kids that will eat this, you can stretch it a little bit further even. So, all right. Now that's cooking in there. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, it smells so good. Just have to make sure that I'm going to turn it up just a little bit, that you're stirring it so it doesn't burn, because the pan's already hot and everything else. But you've got it toasting, and you can see the water's coming out of it a little bit there. That's what you want. Okay, now I've turned it up to medium high. Break up some of those pieces in there. There we go. Now, I've called for this recipe for 2 cans of the Great Northern Beans. And it says Great Northern Beans right on there. They're a white bean, very mild, very soft, very tender, very good. So any brand, generic is fine. I use a lot of generic. Store brand, that's fine too. You can use any of those. If you need to stretch this to 8 people, this is how easy it's going to be. Another 68 cents, you can buy another can of the beans and just add a little bit more water to it, because you're cooking with plenty of spices and meat and everything else. So if you want to stretch it a little bit further, just add 1 more can of beans, maybe a little bit of water. Because I'm already adding 2 cups of water. So you don't even drain these. You pour everything, juice and all, right in there on top of that ham. It's already browning. And I'm going to use the 2 cans 4 to 6 people. And again, don't drain it, just pour juice and everything right in there. They're just in pretty much water is all it is. And you can use that, it's extra flavor. It's got a little bit of the starch from the beans sitting in there, which is naturally gonna help thicken up this dish anyways. And you just stir everything in like this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a few things that I like and my family likes on this dish as well. And it just brings out more flavor and everything else. That's really thick, which is what you want. I'm gonna add 2 cups of water. And it will make some more water as the ham cooks down. I'm gonna turn it pretty much all the way up to high, because you're gonna want to heat that through pretty quickly because your cornbread's already cooking. At this point, I do use a little bit of garlic powder, and you don't even have to measure it. Just some in the bottom of your hand. Garlic powder goes, a long ways. You can use celery salt in here. You can use anything that you really want. I like a lot of pepper in this dish because beans take, just like potatoes, a lot of salt and pepper. Now you've got the salt already in there because of the ham and everything else. So just a little bit in your hand. You can always add more at the table. And this is where I'm going to put the minced onion in. I like minced onion. If you have fresh, chop it up finely, put it in there, and it will cook through as the beans and everything heats through. And you really need to use the onion, even if you don't like onion, or you think you don't like it. If you cook it, the minced onion, which is dried, you're not going to taste or feel it or anything in your mouth. It's just going to add more flavor. Again, I'm going to hold off on the salt until after we try it. All right, and that's for 4 to 6 people. Again, all you do, if you want to feed a couple more people, just open another can of beans. $50. They're not expensive at all, and it is worth getting them already cooked for something that's a little bit quicker. So right now we're going to go ahead and put a cover on it, make sure it doesn't boil over, and we'll be waiting on our cornbread. All right, we're back now, and it's been about 10-12 minutes or so, just until your cornbread gets, cooked completely through. It does not take long at all. You have to keep an eye on it. Just a little toasty, and it bounces back when you tap it like that. All done. And by the time that those are cooked, your beans and your ham have already been warmed all the way through, and they've been simmering together. And that is that quick. You can do this in less than 15 minutes, a whole meal, a whole dinner for the family and everything else. Now at this point, it's going to be extremely hot, but if you want to try and taste it a little bit to see if you need to add some more salt, that's fine too. You just kind of blow it off and taste it. Or you can wait until it gets to the bowl. But this is going to stay hot for quite a while. So we do put it on the cornbread. I'll go ahead and show you how we make this for the plate. But some people may not like their cornbread with, in the beans, but it's just kind of thickens it up, gives it another layer of flavor. And that's what we do. That's how we make it. Just kind of crumble it up in there. And then you just go ahead and put everything over on top of it. And like I said, this is already cooked all the way through. That's the one handy thing about using canned beans. Alright. You can check out my website at annskeepitsimple.com. This recipe will be on there too. Add more salt and pepper at the table. And what more could you ask for?
I like pork. I like pork and beans. I like pork. I like pork and beans.